Oh, oh, I'm feeling high. Smiling lady, take me to the other side. I'm feeling strong. Smiling lady, I'm gonna keep moving on. I'm gonna go break it down. I'm gonna stop the line. I'm feeling high. Smiling lady, I'm gonna take it to the other side. You know, I used to smoke. Used to drink too much, take a lot of my God. You can't get me out. I, you know, I used to drink too much, take a lot of my God. You're gonna feel oh, I'm feeling good. My little lady, she's gonna take me to the other side. I'm feeling nice. My little lady, she's gonna keep me moving on. I'm gonna go till I drop to the break of dawn. Never gonna stop. She's gonna treat me right. I'm feeling good. My little lady, she's gonna take me to the other side. You know, I used to smoke too much. You know, I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. If you can get me high. You know, I used to smoke too much. You know, I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. We're gonna get real. Let's take a ride. Where we go? But first, let's dance. I used to smoke too much. You know, I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. If you can get me high, you know, I used to smoke too much. You know, I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. We're gonna get real. Oh,
Hi, everyone. Dan here, and I just wanted to put a little snippet about AstroWorld and what we do because I want to start getting the word out because I think it's becoming more and more of a giant community, and I want to get the word out to some other people. So, what we do at AstroWorld is we hold astrophotography chats on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we just talk astrophotography. Wednesday's more of a techie kind of advanced intermediate, and Fridays is more of a newbie kind of thing. So if you want to check us out, and if you want to, hang out with some semi-decent people that like to go off the rails a little bit and have fun while they're doing it, come check us out at astroworldweb.com, and you can check out the schedule, and you can sign up for all the free giveaways that we do. We just gave away an Eagle 4 Pro, an Optilum filter kit, Charles Brackenstein's books, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So come to astroweb.com, hang out with us, have a good time, and as always, remember to keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
exotic coming in towns. Things on your pants. I moved away from the old man. passion. Tell the tale of 1,000 holy days. She's a real bird. Oh, yeah. Together. To be together with you. I'm getting caught in the rain. Shelly calling your name. Guess I got no one to blame. It's a small town. All the people turn and stare.
All right. Did that work, everybody? Did you see the intro?
I saw it.
And it's back to the live. We're on the four. Yeah, the button worked. The 2 hours was worth it. There you go. All right. I just want to make sure they were saying that the audio was not good for. And it sounds good now. I think it's just the audio of the music. Everybody, just let me know that's online, that's watching. If you're having some audio issues, let me know. I was playing around with things for the past couple hours, so audio is great now. Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it. So tonight we have the return of Richard Wright for his second time with us on on AstroWorld TV. Good, thank you. Audio is great now. Awesome. But Richard just got back from Winter Star Party, and we're looking forward to hear all the stuff that he was able to see, including all the lovely construction that was going on down there. But we're really more interested in the photos of the field and your experience and hearing about that. But before we get into that, we do have to say what's up to our sponsors. And we have some toys to look at, and stuff like that. And then while Rich is doing his presentation on Winter Star Party, feel free to have any questions in the chat or whatever, and I'm going to put them on the screen, so hopefully everybody can see that as well. So that being said, let's just go over the sponsors tonight, and let's see, quick play, and here we go. And I almost had that set up too. I got Richard's half face there, so let me see if I can face that real quick. I thought I had it, so I had to do it without seeing anybody in the pictures. So there was no way I could do that. So let's move Richard up a little bit, and we'll cover Pete a little bit, and let's see, zoom, guest, and pan Y, and there we go. There you go. Now you can see everybody's face.
There you go.
And we'll just move Peter up a little
For a minute
bit.
there, it kind of reminded me of The Incredibles.
Oh, we'll move everybody up a little bit as well. So that's the way it's going to look from now on. So now they just don't have to kind of look at the screen and see nothing. Oh, it actually looks pretty decent. All right. So thank you for our sponsors, and all these sponsors give us stuff to give away to everybody. In either presents or money or whatever, filters, a whole bunch of stuff. So tonight we're actually giving away a $50 gift certificate to Woodland Hills. And so at the end of the show, we'll be spinning the famous wheel, and we'll be doing that. So Woodland Hills, thank you so much for all your support. Followed by, at our Red Giant level, Prima Luce Lab, Camera Concepts, and Optolong. So thank you so much. Optolong is sending us a whole bunch of filters again this year to be given away throughout the year. So be on the lookout on the website. And if you're not involved with any, or you don't know about how to sign up for the giveaways, you go to astroweb.com. You could sign up to all the giveaways. Just say giveaways on the top, and you sign up for whichever ones you want. but you do have to sign up for all of them if you want to be in all. So at our super giant level, Masters of PixInsight and IP for AP, we give away free workshops for Masters of PixInsight every Friday night. So every Friday night, you have a chance of learning from three of the best out there as far as Masters of PixInsight, as far as PixInsight are concerned, and IP for AP as well, who cut their teeth with Photoshop. Has not only evolved from a Photoshop tool to a PixInsight tool as well. So they're both really cool. And IP for AP, we're giving away 12 free 1-year subscriptions to IP for AP once a month for the rest of the year. So so thank you very much to them. We also have a lot of member sponsors. If you would like to, to support the show, and get some pretty cool perks in return, feel free to join us on our Patreon membership at AstroWorld TV. We have, I think, 29 Patreon subscribers, not to mention about 30 subscribers that are part of the membership on YouTube. So thank you to Sean and Bob for being the Off the Rails members. Our Quasar members, John, Hassan, and Chris. More Black Hole members, Charity, George, Mike, Dave, Dan, and Tom. Red Giant members, thank you for Gideon for upgrading his membership. Ton of main sequence members. White Toy, we have a lot. Thank you so much for everybody. I could just go on forever. We have about 60 or 70 total members across the board. So thank you for everybody for their support. Tonight we have Richard Wright with a recap of Winter Star Party. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what his experience was like down there. March 25th, which is 10 days from today. This is a special day. It's a Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We have Stacy Downton, Astro Stace, coming down and hanging out with us for a Saturday afternoon. We've been talking about getting her for over a year and a half. Finally was able to swing it, and it's actually happening. So April 5th, we have Warren Keller coming on from Masters of PixInsight and IP4AP. It's his first time as a solo to come on. He's been on the show before with Ron and Pete and the rest of the Masters of PixInsight, but it's his first solo show. So let's give him a warm welcome in April as well. April 21st, we got Pavel Kagas over at Moravian Instruments. Gonna hopefully show us, or probably tell us how much that huge chip costs. But you know what? A really high-end camera, and it's good. He's never been in the show, so it's going to be really cool to hear what he has to say and what he's got coming up for Moravian. And June 2023, we have Helena from Helena's Astrophotography coming on for her first time on AstroWorld. So, and that being said, feel free to join us on other social media platforms: Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Discord, whatever else is what Mastodon. I don't even know what else we're on anymore. It's just so much stuff. So that being said, thank you everybody for your support, and it's going to be a really cool night tonight. And welcome, Rich. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us yet again on that show. Appreciate it.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
You've been well, let's start a little bit with a little bit about yourself first, because perhaps some of the people out there that are on the show, we have about 35 people watching already. Maybe some of them don't know who you are. Maybe most of them probably do. But why don't you believe it or not, you got people saying, hey, Rich, what's going on in the chat? So
okay, cool.
Tell a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a software engineer, software developer, and a little over 20 years ago, well, my background is computer graphics, computer imaging, that sort of thing. So I'm a software guy, and I just kind of accidentally happened into astronomy. I've been an amateur astronomer for most of my life, and about 20 some odd years ago, I started working. I got a job at my dream job working at Starry Night. I helped with their OpenGL, which is a buzzword. Basically, some of their graphics technologies, and I worked there for a little under a year. And the space.com bubble popped and all that, and I ended up at Software Bisque just a few weeks
Right.
later. And I was with Software Bisque for close to 20 years. I think it was just short of 20 years. Um, Started doing a 3D solar system simulator for them about the time the Sky 6 came out. And I brought them over to the Mac and Linux and the SkyX and all that sort of thing. And I ended up becoming sort of the imaging evangelist for them. I've been trying to do astrophotography for a long time, but once I started working there, I was kind of embarrassed to let anybody see what I was working on. And one day they were like, "We should send Richard a Paramount and see what happens." And kind of the rest is history. So I had a really cool job for a long time traveling around. I would represent Software Biscuit star parties. And so if you do know who I am, unless you're like a member of my local astronomy club, it's probably from going all over the country for Software Bisque at Texas Star Party, Winter Star Party. I loved. I've been to a lot of star parties all across the country. I'm also a contributing editor for Sky and Telescope, so you've probably seen my work in Sky and Tel. I mostly do imaging articles and product reviews and things like that. I did a blog for a long time on their website. Um, about a year ago, for reasons, I stepped away from Software Bisque. I was a contractor, so Starstone has always been, the corporate entity that contracted with Starstone. I also did small projects for, other people. I've done stuff for uh, Daystar and Skywatcher and Orion, and I would make deals with hardware vendors to write. I would put software support in the sky, unsponsored by Bisque, but it would be sponsored by Ron Newman, who would send me a Nightcrawler, in return for my time. Um, so that when I stepped away from Bisque, it was time for me to do some new stuff. And for a while, I said I'm not going to do. I'm not looking for anything because, of course, my phone rang off the hook. I've got some ideas. I'm going to gestate myself, and I spent about a year on them. Actually, I have beta testers for one of the products. I'll give a hint. It's a Lucky Imaging app, um, and not looking for anything. Well, some old friends of mine who I used to work with at Starry Night called me and said, "Hey, we want to do such and such," and I'm like, "Ooh, it is something I would like to do." So I'm actually um, I've started working with the Sky Safari people now as well. So full time, I have a full time job working in the high tech industry. I work on something called Vulcan, which sounds really cool, but it's not that kind of Vulcan. It's a low level graphics technology, and it's a really great job. And they love that. They think it's cool that I'm like this astronomer on the side. So kind of part time, I'm still doing my own software development product. Like I said, I have a product actively in development, and then I'm doing some work with the Sky Safari people too now, which is really cool. I can't take credit yet because I haven't done a lot yet with Sky Safari, but once I've actually contributed to Sky Safari in a meaningful way, that means over the last 25 years, I've worked on Starry Night, the Sky, and Sky Safari, which are probably the three top astronomy software packages in the industry during that time frame. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm kind of jazzed about that, just a little bit. So I like to work. I was having some dinner with some friends the other night who were in from California, and they're like, "So what are your hobbies?" I'm like, "Well, I like to do photography," and they're like, "Duh." I'm like, "Well, I like to shoot birds and mountains and nature too, but mostly I like to code and do astronomy." So this is that's just kind of who I am and what I do. So. Um, yeah,
A
so I
true
think
programmer.
that's me, and that's the 100-mile-an-hour version of Richard, what he's done and who he is. So there we go. So
Cool. I mean, there's usually two types of guys when it comes to computers for the most part. It's your hardware guys or your hardware and guys, your software guys. I'm more of a I'm in IT, so I'm more of a hardware and, and networking and security guy. You're a coder and a programmer. I think Dan's more like me as well,
Dan's nobody. Dan knows nothing.
Yeah, that is true. I sometimes wonder, but you know what? That's McDonald's for you.
Man,
Hey,
I was dating my wife. 30. It was more than 30. We'll be married 35 years in May, so it was more than 35
Wow,
years ago. I
congratulations.
was
That's
meeting my
incredible.
wife. One of her uncles was a computer programmer, and I was so excited to meet him. And I was like, "What kind of computer do you have?" He's like, "I don't want a computer at home. I do computers at work. Why would I want to come home?" And I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Yeah, trust me, you'll burn out, and you're going to be the same way." Well, it's been almost 40 years, and I'm not burnt out. And in fact, when I go on vacation, I can't wait to get back to write some code or do. It's a create writing code and developing products. It's a creative process. It's like on Star Trek where they have the little machine that say tea, Earl, and just it makes tea for you. There's something inside my brain. It only exists in my brain. And when I get a computer, I can make what's in my brain real. Now I realize it's not really real. It's virtual. It's not like it's not like craftsmanship. I couldn't make a table. I would probably end up in the emergency room and I would lose a few fingers before I make a nice table. Um, but it's a very creative endeavor, and there are a lot of people. I used to teach. I taught graphics programming for about 15 years too at a local school, and that was also a part-time gig. Um, and you could tell there were certain students who had like the programmer gene, and they couldn't wait to apply what they were learning, and you were lecturing too slow for them. They were just like rushing ahead, and you could tell they got the gene. They've got that gene, and I definitely
Yeah.
have the gene because I can't stop doing it. If you withhold it from me, I go insane. So
I hear you. I can. There are many times where I'm the same way when it comes to myself with networking and security. I deal a lot with the back end cybersecurity firewalls and routing and things like that. So a lot of the networking stuff where you deal with a lot of the programming. Now, quick question: you've worked you.
but there's a blend of languages. There's really not one language that you use for everything. It's a matter of what's the best tool for for what you're doing.
What you're
And
trying to
this
do?
guy had
For sure.
like multiple scripting interfaces. There was a Visual Basic interface and a JavaScript interface, and
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of technologies. Primarily, I think the tool I'm most competent in is a language is C++, and then there's a whole series of APIs and toolkits that I know really well, and that facilitates that quite a
Sure.
bit. But really, for performance programming, there's still no. Well, the Rust people in the chat room will probably have a fit, but there's C++ is still um, pretty. I'll just say popular. That way, I'm not really.
Yeah.
I'm not making
I'll
a
say
statement
dominant.
somebody I want to
I'll
argue
say
with.
dominant.
It's very popular,
I'll say-
whether you like it or not.
You say popular, I'll say it's dominant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, but cool. And so, can you give us I know you can't give us really much details, but when do you think, your adventure here with Sky Safari, when do you think we would probably see it come to fruition and have something to look forward to? Any thoughts on that yet, or is that something you can share?
I can't tell you what I'm working on at all, but by the end of the year, by the end of the year, I'll be able to go. Look, I made that button.
There you go.
Then you'll be back in Christmas saying, "Hey, this is what I was talking about."
I made that button. So the button I'm working on, should be ready by Christmas. Yes.
Nice.
Nice.
Awesome.
And it'll be an awesome button too.
I hope so. It'll be a great button.
And it's gonna say,
I'll
"Do
like
not
my
push this." That's what it's gonna
Yeah.
say. It's gonna
Yeah, it's gonna say, in case of emergency, don't push here.
say. So, anyway, you just got back from Winter Star Party, right? So, I know
Yeah.
we were trying to, and link up and do a live thing, but unfortunately, the internet was not agreeable to doing that. But we're glad to have you on tonight and see what you had go on down there, because I know that's on. I don't want to say my bucket list. I would like to go there a couple of times. I have yet to be at Winter Star Party. You and I spoke a little bit offline about my year this year. It's going to be somehow out of all that stuff I told you that I'm doing. Somehow I'm fitting in a cruise too. So I don't know.
Oh wow.
So.
Yeah.
My whole thing up to like October, like Halloween, I think it's filled with stuff. But I know the transparency and the seeing down in the Keys area is bar none, some of the best seeing that you could do. Again, I'm not talking from practical experience, but I know you've been there a lot, and or more, at least more than me. Which, but
My favorite. I haven't been to a star party that just sucked. But
oh,
it's winter, so it's hard to say it's my. Which one is your favorite? Because there's quite a few really good ones that I really enjoy a lot. But the Winter Star Party is my favorite. It's close because I live in Central Florida, so I can get there in a day, and I can fill my car up, and I don't have to stop at a hotel and empty the car or anything. So it's just within shot. And when you live in Florida, where do you go on vacation? Well, the Keys are like a whole different, it's a whole different Florida down there. It's very different, and the skies are special. My favorite story is, I've been going for like 2 decades, so very very far back. I was a young hot shot know-it-all. You know how it is when you finally know enough to think that you know something. And I hear somebody going,
just enough to be dangerous,
this guy behind me's I got Saturn at 700 power, and I'm just like, please,
looks like crap.
you can't look 700. Give me a break. And somebody goes, oh wow, and I'm just like, oh, I should at least go look. And I go look, and dear God, Saturn is like the size of a basketball in front of my face, and it's just
Smushed.
I feel like I'm there. It's like I should be able to breathe. This vacuum of space should be sucking all the air. The seeing down there is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It not every time, but the seeing it we don't have any mountains, so we just air just smooth over the ocean and over the peninsula, and we have great Don Parker, who is world famous planetary imager, pioneered doing lucky imaging with webcams. He's based in Florida, and he did fantastic work. Um, on Jupiter and Mars and all of that, and part of that was the really good seeing. And if you look at the top planetary imagers, Christopher Go, he's in the Philippines, and Damian Peach, he goes to the Barbados. So it's this sort of place is the best place for good seeing. We're talking about moving, to be closer to my son. Hopefully, he'll make some grandchildren. If you're watching, Steve, mother is being tired of waiting. And the one thing I'm going to miss the most about Florida is the seeing, because I can do high resolution stuff here. I don't think I'll be able to do. And I go out west, and they've got some nice transparency, but they don't have seeing like we do here. First time I went out west, I thought, why can't I focus? Something's wrong with my focuser. No matter what I do, everything is soft. And no, that's just it. That was as good as you could get, under those conditions. So
Well, being from New York, I know all about soft seeing. So I mean,
yeah,
it's just garbage here. It's so bad. If you're not doing astrophotography, um, your seeing on Long Island is it's just horrible. It's just so bad.
yeah.
But
Oh well. Well,
yeah,
do you want to see some slides?
let's see some slides. Let's see what's
All right.
going on.
Let me share my screen.
Okay,
Toggle screen sharing.
there you
Let's
go.
see. One of these buttons.
Yeah, I think it's the
Entire
red.
screen.
Yeah,
Screen 2.
there we go.
Mountains.
Got
There
the
we
mountain.
go.
Yep.
Oh, first I gotta show you where I am. This is my spot in Okeechobee. So that's the
Oh,
observatory.
nice.
There used to be a dome here, and I didn't like it. Bugs and frogs and everything kept getting into it. But I'm in this little building right here. That's just my little hideaway. So I come down and I bring a different scope or different mount with me every time, and that's why I don't have a roll-off roof or anything here. All right, so hang on. I lost my cursor. I feel like is this thing on?
I
It is.
see. Let's see.
I see the cursor on the other screen.
Yep.
There we go. Maybe it's this way. There we go. I found it. We're good. We're good. All right. The Winter Star Party
There we
2023.
go.
My
There we go.
favorite star party. So this is almost like a religious pilgrimage for me. It's great. It's held every year in the Florida Keys in February, occasionally early March or late January. Here's sort of where it is. It's sort of halfway between Marathon and Key West. If you zoom in a little bit, you might know Big Pine or the Bahia Honda State Park. It's kind of right between there. And here's a Google Earth. So this shows the Girl Scout campground, which is where it's been traditionally. Long, long, long time ago, before my time, it was held in the Everglades, which I think was probably insufferable. Uh, and then before my time, they started doing it here at this Girl Scout campground. There's a Boy Scout campground right next door, which becomes very important in our story in a little bit. But down here at this end, there was a wheelhouse where we would have talks and the men's restroom, and there was a women's restroom down here. And this was a place where all the Dobbs would set up, and you can look south. When the seeing is, when it's clear, you can set a camera up and do nightscapes, and you can get a sky dome from Havana. There's nothing, very, very small sky dome from Havana on the horizon. There's the southern skies are just fantastic. There's light domes, of course, to the east and west, but the south is open all the way, all the way to Cuba. Um, since Hurricane Irma in 2017, the Star Parties occupied not only the Girl Scout campground, but the Boy Scouts opened up their doors to us as well. And the reason is the Girl Scout side is not really recovered from the hurricanes. Um, this damage was from Hurricane Irma, which damaged the men's bathhouse, took the roof off, and then in the background is the wheelhouse that used to be lodging for speakers and things, and then the upstairs would be a room where we could do talks and presentations. The storm surge from Irma was higher than the men's bathhouse, so that building with the missing roof, the water was higher than that building is tall right there. The women's restroom, it just scoured the concrete. They don't even know where the building ended up after the storm. It's just a smooth pad. These pictures were taken, by the way, the day before it was open. So the only people on the site are the volunteers and speakers and vendors. Um, Here's another example of how bad Irma was. This was the caretaker's house, which is uninhabitable currently. The storm surge, the water was up inside the house. and not like, the rain was blowing in. The ocean was up past the bottom deck there, and into that house. If you'd have been on site, you probably would have died. So this is bad news. The year after Irma, the Star Party is actually relocated to Chiefland, which is sort of northwestern Florida. There's a Chiefland Astronomy Village up there with some property, and so they let the Star Party up there. Of course, it was cloudy all week, which I've been to Chiefland. Very nice skies there as well. So it's just a weather fluke. Um, and the following year, we came back to the Girl Scout camp again. This is damage from Ian. Just last year, the berm, there was a big hilly area, which was like the Valley of the Dobbs, where everybody would set up to look south. And Ian took out the berm, and it had, it's exquisite views of the southern sky. Of course, you could still set up there, and people did this year. And that was, just a kind of a figure. Also, there's no power on the Girl Scout side, which would think would be the end of the Winter Star Party, right? There's no restrooms, there's no power, there's no buildings. But as Dr. Malcolm says, life finds a way. So, welcome to the 21st century. We have batteries. Um, yes, that is a garbage bag over one of my mounts. Don't judge me. We didn't have many vendors this year. Camera Concepts, if you're listening, you were very missed. I'm not going to give you any grief. I know you probably would have rather been there. But I was counting on buying another Scope 365 cover from them, but they couldn't make it this year. There is some power in the vendor area, and so people were kind of like siphoning that off to charge their batteries and things during the day. And a lot of people brought solar panels. This is my Goal Zero Yeti. The Jackery came out, which is very, very popular and like $100 cheaper and works just as well. And a lot of people find they can run their image rig all night long on one of these power banks and charge it during the day with the solar panel. I remember how surprised I was. The solar panel charges this faster than the wall outlet. So it came with the power brick to recharge it, but it only puts out about 45 watts. The solar panel in the sun puts out 100 watts.
Yep.
In reality, it was only about 85 or so because I wasn't following the sun. But 85 watts is still almost twice, as fast, which is pretty good. And just to kind of spoil the story, there is power on the Boy Scout side, so I'll get to that. If you just have to have power, that this is not the only option. But I like to run on battery anyway. I remember in years past at the Winter Star Party with my old LX200, and somebody would trip or they would plug a coffee pot in, and the power would go out, and I would have
Yep.
to realign the out all over again. That was really, really annoying. So I really love running off of my own power and then just recharging if there's local power available. So yeah, come on, who wouldn't want to spend a week here observing and imaging just because there's no power? Electricity and lights usually don't go well together. I found a great spot, which whoever that orange tent is, if you're watching, I'm going to steal this from you next year. I think this is just such an idyllic little location. That tree's not going to bother me a bit. I'll have the mount set up a little bit to the right of this frame, but this is a really nice spot overlooking the ocean. And we did have plenty of people show up. RV row on the kind of the eastern side of the Girl Scout campground. Lots of people not troubled at all by the fact that there's no official RVs. Here's a look from RV row, looking to where the vendors set up the big white tent, and where the food is. We had a food service this year. It turns out being on the far side of this tent, which is where I was set up, was the place to be. And I will tell you why at the end of the presentation. But where I'm standing right now is not the best place to set up due to a fluke of timing, which some of you probably heard about already in the chat rooms. We were a little lean on vendors. Explore Scientific came. Disc mounts came. There was a rep from Astronomical League and a guy selling homemade astro art with illuminated crystals. That was kind of cool. We typically have Mickey's Kitchen. They couldn't make it. One of their staff, principal staff, I guess, was having a surgical procedure. So we had Kitchen 1333, and they were really good. In fact, Mickey's Kitchen is coming back next year, but they're retiring. So next year will be their last Winter Star Party. Popular opinion is these folks should come back the following years because the food was very good. I did miss Mickey's Kitchen. They did 1333 did make the world, brownie in the middle of the night. There's nothing like going and getting a hot brownie at 2 in the morning at the Winter Star Party. It's just sort of a tradition. So that was the girls. This is kind of the Girl Scout side. There was plenty of room on this side of the vendor tent. Like I was saying, there is even a little bit of power spotty available, and most people, didn't need it at all. The one of the compromises, there's nothing but porta pots, and some people, are porta pots is not the ideal, situation for when you need to go. But there was the Boy Scout side of the campground, which is right next to us, and there's a path, and it's not much walk. And a lot of people were set up on the Boy Scout side. There was power on this side. In the background of this image is the bathhouse, individual private stalls for showers and bathrooms. It's very, very nice, very posh, to tell the truth. And underneath of there is where the vendor talks were. I've got a picture of the vendor talks. And the Boy Scout side, again, it's not an awful place to spend a week. You think I'm right here on the ocean, aren't there crashing waves and all sorts of things? No, this is why the Keys is very different from the rest of Florida. The water is very shallow here. So you don't get big crashing waves. You don't get unless there's a storm, you don't get a lot of salt spray, all over your gear. Obviously, you should cover up if there's a storm. Which brings to mind, sometimes we do have some good windy storms come through. And if your scope is covered like you see on these, you need to tie it down. Don't let it flap because that'll turn into a sail and it'll blow your scope right over. Um, I've seen airborne dobs at the Texas Star Party. I've not seen an airborne dob at the Winter Star Party, but I have seen a lot of mounts get blown over in a big storm if you don't take care with the covers. In the background, in the center of this, is what looks like a boat, and this is an interesting this year at the Winter Star Party. Um, a couple of months ago, a bunch of Cuban refugees showed up on this homemade boat made of oil barrels with a diesel engine. Um, these were some desperate people. I know there's a lot of different feelings about migrants and that sort of thing. We won't get into that, but you have to acknowledge this is pretty darn creative. I felt like it was a relic from the old A Team, where they would go into a junkyard and build something out of nothing and
Yeah.
save somebody. So it's like this is really, really, really cool thing. The boat's still there. I know this happens in the Dry Tortugas National Park all the time. I hadn't heard of it happening this far up in the Keys. Back to the Boy Scout side. Another feature of the Boy Scout side as well is these glamping tents in the background. Um, these accommodate up to 6 people and are air conditioned. Yes, this is an air conditioned tent right on the ocean, and you can reserve one of these too. Not a terrible way to spend a week. My own experience with the Star Party is the first couple of years I came. Um, I was working at Software Desk, but I wasn't representing them. It's camping, and I decided pretty soon after that I needed a hotel room. Um, it gets really hot during the day, and I can't sleep in the tent in the daytime. Now that's because I tend to stay up all night, and it's really funny if you've been to any star parties. It's really amazing how many people are in bed by 11 o'clock. Um, I'm like, we're at a star party. So if and that's fine. If you just want to see a few things and go to bed, um, you can sleep all night and then get up during the day. But I would stay up till dawn, and then it's just too hot to sleep during the day. These glamping tents would work. I did get a hard no from my wife on this idea. She really likes getting put up in a room in the Keys while we're down there. But it's not too rustic for me. I think it's a nice alternative. Um, and I just love this picture here. It's like that's some lucky people right there. I mean, you got a big knob on the ocean looking south. Amazing views. Here's just a view on the Boy Scout side, a little closer to the bathhouse. So you can see we have visitors from all over Canada. We get Europeans who come in, and so that's pretty cool. And back in the back is where the daily talks are. Um, I didn't attend many of them as they were in the middle of the day, and as I said, I didn't stay up all night. Mike Lockwood was there. He's a renowned mirror maker, mostly larger jobs. He might make an interesting guest, by the way, for your show. There were some NASA mission updates, and I did a talk about astrophotography, of course. And there's power here, so a lot of people would come to the talks, and they would charge their laptops too while they were over here. Okay, so that's the daytime. What about the nighttime stuff? Um, Early morning before sunrise, I'm going to skip past most of the night and say the summer Milky Way makes an appearance. I had to wait to the end of the week for this photo because of the moon in the mornings. But my best Milky Way shots are always at the Winter Star Party. I would say the best skies I've ever seen are at the Grand Canyon Star Party, and I've got some fantastic. This is the Milky Way, but at the Winter Star Party, I get a much better composition, looking out over the ocean. I like this shot here because we have clouds in front of clouds, the star clouds. And this was just as the Milky Way was coming up in the sky. It was exceptionally clear, except for the clouds, of course. And so, I mean, the Milky Way is like virtually sitting on the ocean, which is a really, really great view.
That's
As I was
incredible.
talking about, I love walking up and down about 4 or 5 a.m. and people are out and they got their scopes running. And I love to just take pictures of people doing astronomy in front of the Milky Way. I think that's fantastic. Visual people um, are, lucky. These guys just, follow the sucker holes around. Oh, it's clear over there. Let's look over there. Oh, it's clear over there. Let's look over there. And so I kind of, I like this photo too. There was quite a few clouds. The clouds would come and go. My first lesson in this, a friend of mine from the local club and I went down together a couple of years, and one night it was the end. It was like maybe Friday night or something, and it got cloudy. It looked like it was going to be cloudy, and we are like, it's going to be cloudy. We should just pack everything up. We packed everything up, and by golly, the clouds left, and it was a beautiful night. And we ended up walking around looking through everybody else's telescopes. Um, Two lessons there. Wait out the clouds. The clouds will come through sometimes, and it'll be overcast for an hour or for half an hour, and then it'll clear up again. And the second is the people here are very friendly. You can just walk around. Lots of people love showing you what they're doing, talking about what they're taking a picture of. Big Dobs rule at this star party. There's a lot of big Dobs that come down for the southern views, and people love sharing, um, sharing what they're doing. So this is just my camera on a tripod with the fast lens. If you want to go deep, you're going to bring a telescope and a camera. I had actually kind of three setups this year. Um, First was my Paramount Mighty with an Esprit 150 refractor. Camera was a Player One Poseidon M monochrome, which is a Sony 571. So it's kind of the little brother to the 455. I'm perfectly happy with that crop sensor. I have like 12 telescopes, so Uh, I have a crop sensor and I can get any field I want just by changing telescopes, and 6,000 pixels across is more than enough. Also got some spared no expense chroma filters, and that's a Moonlight Nightcrawler on the back. This is my number one favorite Star Party setup. This mount, this scope, this focuser, all of that. This is like my fail-safe, cannot fail system. Unfortunately, this year my fail-safe system was not so fail-safe. It was really windy, and the Star Party can be windy. There are places where you can set up and you're kind of sheltered from the wind. And where I was is often sheltered from the wind, but this year the winds were coming from a different direction. And if I brought my MX, I probably would have done better. The Mighty can handle that 150 refractor very easily, but not when the wind was blowing as bad as it was. So it was like 10, 15 mile an hour winds. So I had to switch to a smaller scope that I also brought. This is my Astrophysics Stowaway. So much smaller scope, same camera on the back, feather touch focuser, optic motor, all that sort of thing. There's a little Skywatch Evo Guide 50 on the top. People who know me are like, Richard, you were guiding. No, I was doing lucky imaging with a planetary camera. I'm not going to say anymore. And yeah, so that was my other deep sky setup. I also did some solar with this, with the Daystar Quantum on the back, using a Player One Apollo Max camera. My third setup was a whole different mount and scope. Um, if you don't already think I'm an imaging glutton, here I am again. This is a Rainbow Astro mount I'm experimenting with, and my 180 Mac Cassegrain. I use this for visual observing, and I also did some lunar observing with it. I like to do visual as much, not as much as I like taking pictures, but I do like to do visual, and this is a really great, small visual scope. I did lunar lucky imaging. I didn't do any of the planets. I did wide field, deep sky, solar, and lunar. Planets were the only thing I didn't show. But I have to show you this picture. This is one of the winning photos from the astrophotography contest. Uh, I'm one of the judges, so I have access to it. But it's also on the website somewhere. But the winner of the solar system category, he took a photo of every planet while he was there. And these are I would be proud of any one of these, much less he did all of these in 1 week with all of that wind through most of the week. It did calm the wind did calm down at the end of the week, but yeah, legendary. Look at the detail on Mars. Mars is tiny right now. I wouldn't even try to shoot Mars, and that's a pretty nice shot there. Um, One of the few times this year I've had dew. We had an epic. It did not rain on my gear. This was dew. The last night, Friday night, Saturday night was the only night was unusable. Friday night we had this epic amount of dew. It'd been windy and breezy all week. Friday night it was very still and it was very dewy. I didn't put a dew strap on, and my scope, my AP scope and my the little finder on top, both dewed over like within 30 minutes of when I got my first image run going. And again, well, not again, but it just amazes me how people give up. Like I was tempted. It was like, I'm dewed up. I might as well quit. Nope. I put the dew straps on, put the covers on, cranked the dew straps all the way up, um, wiped them off with the alcohol thing. And basically I dried both lenses off. And it took about half an hour to get the lenses dried off and usable again. But it was worth it because my very favorite object, Omega Centauri, was up. Um, Omega Centauri is the king of globular clusters, and this is a winter star party. You must see it. You must see this through a big scope too. This photo does not even remotely do justice. It's a naked eye object, by the way. It only looks like a fuzzball, but you can see it naked eye from the winter star party. You don't have to, try that with M13, in, Lake Mary, Florida. Not a chance. But you can see it coming up off the ocean and arcing across the sky. And you look at this with a big dot, it's like looking into the face of God. It's just it's really amazing, and I shoot it every year when I go down there because it's just one of my favorite objects visually, as well. I can actually shoot this from where I am right now. It's a little bit lower than it is from down there, but it's just higher there. I'm also shooting over Okeechobee when I'm here too, so there's a lot of light. There's no light pollution shooting this to the south, and it's a little bit higher. And if you want to shoot Omega Centauri, bleh, there's no better place in the continental U.S. Than the Winter Star Party. Another great object, just a couple of degrees higher,
Yep.
is Centaurus A.
I
Um,
say.
I only got about 70 minutes on this. I should have went a little deeper. There's a little bit of a blue tinge in that ring that I missed. It only gets up about 22 degrees above the horizon. But again, to the south, there's no light pollution at all. And over the ocean, the air is very stable and very still. And you can, just a great place to shoot some of these southern objects. Um, I also shot some, I cheated a little bit. NGC 2903, which is just a spiral galaxy, which is almost overhead for most people in North America, so no big deal. This is only 71 minutes too, 30-second exposures, LRGB. New CMOS cameras are the hot stuff. I think a few years ago, I remember the last talk I gave about CMOS catching up with CCD, and I'm like, please stop saying it's caught up because there were lots of things that CMOS still wasn't quite as good as CCD at. But people were happy because you could get a cheap CMOS and get reasonable results. But it's still, you could still do better work with a CCD if you were willing to spend the money. I can't give that talk anymore. Yeah, I can't give that talk anymore at all. The new CMOS sensors are simply amazing. The noise, the only noise we're to the point now to where the only noise we really have to worry about is shot noise. You cool it moderately, 10 below instead of 30 or 40 below with a thermonuclear power, which means your batteries last longer. So it's really great. My last deep sky image before I switch to it. Um, this was I I hope it's not a once in a lifetime shot. I really have always wanted to go to the equator or south of the equator to shoot Eta Carina. Eta Carina is a giant uh, emission nebula. It's sort of the M42 of the southern hemisphere. It's very bright. Um, and it does get above the horizon at the winter star party. It only gets between 4 and 6 degrees above the ocean. So it's just skimming the horizon, and it's ridiculous to think that you could image it, except you can when the weather gods are favorable. And I just slewed to it on a lark and took a photo, short exposure. And I just happened to be set up to where it was between the palm trees in the distance, and I got it. This is only this is 144 15-second exposures. That close to the horizon. T point wasn't doing me any good, and I wasn't going to take the time to try to set up guiding. It was like I've got to get all the data I can as fast as I can, and I did RGB. I did 15 seconds red, 15 seconds blue, 15 seconds green, and then I recycled. And I didn't refocus for the filters. It was like I have a very, very short amount of time. Um, and like I said, this is between 4 and 6 degrees above the horizon.
Wow.
Now, I was so extremely excited because I thought I would have to go up on the berm or something to catch it. I was excited that where I was set up, I actually caught it. The winning image for the deep sky category was an even better shot of Eta Carina than this one. Um, a guy, he was probably over closer, and he probably worked on it a couple of nights and had more data. But I can't believe I got Eta Carina at the Winter Star Party. This thing, at basically an average of 5 degrees above the ocean, and I got this much detail. Uh, just God bless the Winter Star Party. It's the best star party ever.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that you got
Hey,
that
today.
being that
I,
low.
I,
It's incredible.
it was, it was luck. You know, it's like so many times photographers, it's like, wow, it's like all it is patience and luck and not getting frustrated. And I just got lucky and it was there. And and I took the opportunity. I will say that all those people who go to bed at 11 o'clock are not going to get ahead of Karina. So
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
there. Yeah, this was about 3 in the morning when this was peaking. So I did do some other stuff. I did some solar imaging. Again, really, really great seeing. When it comes to imaging, I'm a jack of all trades. I do all kinds of, I like to do everything. I'm not particularly well known for solar system imaging, but I do have a nice solar setup. And this was a Daystar Quantum on the back of my astrophysics stowaway. I do have the bottom half of this. I've got a lot of data from the Winter Star Party. I haven't even had a chance to process yet. I mean, it's only a month ago, and I have like 4 jobs. But I'll be putting out pictures from the Winter Star Party for the rest of the year, probably. But this was a nice, I got the prominences and the surface all in one exposure. This is sort of like a milestone for me. It's like I'll do a long exposure and get the proms. I'll do a short exposure for for the photosphere, for the surface. And the Apollo Max, it's like got nice deep wells, so you can expose a little longer, and the data is there. And so I was able to do this with just one video file. It had enough dynamic range that I could pull out the flares there. I don't know if it's coming through on the internet compression or not.
So
Yeah, we got a
you got a
Richard, we got a couple questions here.
Oh,
One from
sure,
MX.
sure.
One from
What's
MX
that?
because he was showing, when you're showing Etta, and those are 15-second shots. Can you really quick, because I know you were not at F2. So what focal ratio was the scope that you were using this for when you got this shot of Etta?
F7.
Nice.
F7. Wow.
F.
And those are 15-second shots. You said you did
F
115 or 120 of them?
144. So
144.
it's amazing. Yeah. So the other soapbox I get on is guiding needs to die.
Here we
If
go.
you can go a minute without guiding, stop guiding. You don't need to guide. We don't need 10-minute exposures anymore. The current issue of Sky and Tell, or the last one, Sean Walker did an article on live stacking, and he used one of my hydrogen alpha images, 2-minute hydrogen alpha images, no guiding. And I realize everybody can't go 2 minutes without guiding, but the next generation of CMOS will be doing 1 minute, 30-second HA images and just stacking them. An individual image doesn't look like much, but if you take enough of them, you can stack them. The limit to stacking is camera noise, and the camera noise is, it's nothing like anybody's seen, who came up on CCD imaging.
Yeah.
But that's another show.
So
Are there other questions?
Yeah, there's a good question coming up regarding if you're not guiding, what about dithering? Frank Rossetti was asking about. So
Oh, I love that question.
yeah,
What about it?
I know you do. We actually went over this on the last show you were on.
What about it?
Well,
So people get used to using software and they think it's the only way to do anything. You don't need to guide to dither. All you have to do is move the scope every now and then. And it doesn't have to be moved every single exposure either. You just need to move it enough. And you can use, when I was at Software Bisque, I wrote scripts that would do unguided imaging, and it would dither between each image. The LTI interface in the sky, it'll do take series, and it also will dither without imaging. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and that's not the only software that that will let you do that. But dither is not a feature of guiding. Dither is just move the scope between exposures, and the people who implemented dither in software often would use, well, you can't dither in the middle of an exposure, and when you dither, the guide star moves. So it's very convenient. It's very convenient, and a reasonable thing to do is, well, move the guide star a little bit, and when it settles, start taking another image. But Dither is, the effect of dither is the same. All you have to do is just move the mount a little bit between exposures, or every so many exposures, and you'll still get that. You can still get that sigma rejection and that smoothing out of the noise that everybody wants. So
Nice. All
Hey,
right.
Richard, can
yeah,
you, for the sake of people that use the SkyX, can you definitely go through the difference between the full-blown version and the LTI? Because I use both, and it's kind of interesting. I think a lot of people on the chat would probably be interested in knowing what the difference is, since you were actually involved in doing the software.
yeah. So LTI is light imaging, is the light imaging interface. So what LTI was originally intended to be was a touch screen interface so that you could use it on a tablet. So, for many, many years, I had this guy on a Raspberry Pi, and I was walking around, going to star parties, and they eventually decided to go a different way with the Fusion. But LTI can be served, from the Fusion, but it can also be served from a Raspberry Pi, and you can buy the Sky for Raspberry Pi. Um, and it's a lot easier to use than the full desktop version on a tablet, and it just sort of walks you through the imaging process, like acquire your target and focus. There's a take series. It's different from the Skies take series, in that, just the way it's laid out. You can put a focus in there, and you can change objects in the change series, which is kind of nice. You can actually automate a whole night's run with LTI. Just change objects, change filters, focus when you want. The only thing, but it doesn't guide. But it does dither. And of course, if you have a Paramount, you don't need to guide. Truth is, most mounts you don't need to guide. These new strain wave mounts, they need to guide badly.
Yeah.
But a lot of mounts, even not very expensive mounts, if you have good polar alignment, once you get on target, they can go, for half a minute or so unguided. And with the new cameras, that's if you're just doing LRGB, that's enough. Um, so that's what LTI is. It's just sort of I wouldn't say watered down. It's a streamlined imaging workflow for the Sky, and it's
Yeah,
built on top of the Sky. So
yeah. It's just a stripped down version, right?
yeah, I would say streamlined more than
Yeah.
stripped down. It doesn't do you can't do well, it doesn't guide, but it doesn't have a lunar chart, and it doesn't it, there's a lot of extra sort of wizards in LTI. If you take a photo and the field of view, there's a lot of things you can do for the user without making the user do things. So it's a easier to use imaging interface than the Sky
Mhm.
Professional. And that rubs some people wrong, I don't mind saying, in public. There's some people who don't like hearing that. Yeah, never mind. We'll just stop there. The seeing is really good in the Keys, and so I also shot the moon in the morning. In the mornings, I think these are some of the most crisp views of the moon that I've ever been able to capture. This is my favorite shot. I actually tilted it from the typical north up to give the impression of flying over the moon. This is actually toward the south of the moon. This is my mouse cursor. This is Clavius here. Uh, this is, of course, it's elongated when everybody knows Schiller. But so this is sort of the southern area of the moon. But by golly, this is like being there. And this is not like, hey, I'm a wizard at wavelets. The data is freaking this good. Um, so this was like I said, Florida is great for seeing. Um, as I said earlier, I have a crap ton of data to process. I got a lot more lucky imaging data, and I've got a lot more deep sky data. And this is a really good week for the Star Party. Also having multiple scopes helps. But that's, I guess, all the big pretty pictures that I have to show off. Now, the final thing I want to show you about the Winter Star Party is we had the most unfortunate luck Sometimes we get a big storm that comes through and will ruin a couple of nights. This year, what ruined a couple of nights for some of the people was road construction. Um, they decided to repave the roads right outside the Star Party towards the end of the week. And of course, they had these humongous spotlights. This really only affected the far side of the Girl Scout campground. That's the wheelhouse in the far distance in the background. So this is kind of that RV row that I was talking about. Behind where I'm standing, the light really. I mean, you don't go to the Keys and shoot to the north anyway. But if you're behind me where I'm standing, the skies were pretty much unaffected by this mostly. But boy, if you were set up on that side of the campground, um, I was really surprised that a lot of people didn't move the next day. There was plenty of room at the Boy Scout campground, and there was plenty of room on my side of the Girl Scout campground. Um, but I guess, yeah, they made the best of it. I went walking down there. There's just all this light, and there's people just laughing, like, well, it's an earthquake. What are you going to do? It's the first time in the entire history of the Winter Star Party this has happened. Um, and a lot of people were like, I don't care. I'm looking south anyway. And it's still better than my backyard.
Yeah.
So I was surprised people just made the best of it. But it was it was funny. Now, fortunately, they were done by the time the Milky Way came up, so they weren't there all night long, but they were there uh, quite late, and that's it. I hope to see some of you there next year at my favorite star party.
Yeah,
So,
I'm really hoping to finally come down there. I came really close to getting on the auto train this year,
mhm.
to go do it because I'm sorry. And Rich, if you could just click off on the share screen if you're done, so
I can do that.
we could see everybody again.
Looking,
And there
there
we
we
go.
go.
You got it.
go.
Yeah,
Clicked.
there's a little lag
So
sometimes, but
we got a couple questions.
all right, go for it.
No, sorry, yeah, sorry. But Carol had one. If Richard can tell us about his Lucky Imaging app, is that something you can share with us or information you can share?
It's in closed beta. Yeah, I don't want to say a lot about it other than um, there's Shark Cap and there's Fire Capture and there's Registax and there's Auto Stacker, and I think among all of those, I have the most respect for Sharp Cap. It's a
Sure.
really good product. I'm not going to pan anybody, but it runs. It's going to run on. It's going to right now. It's going to run on Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Okay.
And by golly, I'm getting 300 frames per second on a planetary camera on a Raspberry Pi.
Wow.
And it is it's doing the processing. It's all going to be GPU accelerated. So it's going to do. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. It'll be. I hope it will be a magical experience. And I'm not copying. I'm going to try really hard not to copy anything that currently exists. There are things that we can do that didn't make sense, 15 years ago, and we got 8 cores now. Okay. There's still stuff that it takes 2 hours for my videos to process sometimes on my super fast, Alienware laptop. Well, during the day, I work on compute technologies, and I have thousands of processors on my GPU. Maybe I can do something about that. So that's what I'm working on right now. So occasionally,
Let's see.
between everything else.
Kevin was asking, what camera did you use? Did you use for your lunar Lucky Imaging?
That is a Player One Neptune C2 color Neptune.
And
Nice camera.
yeah, one of the that was actually one of our first giveaways on
Oh yeah,
on AstroWorld. Yeah, the Neptune we gave away a Neptune and a Mars camera.
I'm very impressed with Player One.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. You know, I'm always impressed by. I can tell how good a camera is based on the interaction with the engineering team. There are camera manufacturers who don't have an engineering team, and they're the worst to work with. And then there are ones who have a good hardware engineering team, and then they hired somebody's nephew to do the software SDK drivers, and it's a horrible experience. And then there's some who are really good at the software but can't make quality hardware. And then there's some who do good at both. I'm not going to name any names
Nope.
other than Player One does seem to do good at both. They're not the only one in the industry who does good at both, but Player One does do very good at both. My Lucky Imaging app, you know, actually, you know, I use Player One for all my testing on that, and I, hey SDK team, I'm having a problem here. The next morning, I got a bug fix.
Nice.
And and I don't have to struggle to communicate with them. I don't have to argue with them. Don't It's just like being an end user of software. You say, when I click this window, it crashes, and then they go, that's impossible. Our software doesn't crash. We have anti-crashing technology. Could you reproduce that? Could you reproduce that 8 times? Could you tell me step by step and it's just like such a pain to say, yeah, it's horrible. So yeah, we go through the same thing, end users go through with, software. It's with talking to SDK and other engineers and the Player One engineers. There are also other vendors who the engineers are good to play with. So I'm not like saying everybody sucks, but no, but they really are a pleasure, to work with from that standpoint. So I expect, and they're a new player on the block.
Yeah.
So we'll
So-
expect to see great things from them.
You got some from Carol. Is there going to be an announcement when the Lucky Imaging app is going to be released?
Oh, I'll make some noise. I think
Sure you will.
I think I'm almost ready to expand the closed beta a little bit. Primarily, my beta testers are all Macintosh Player One people. The device interface, I'm not sure I've settled on it yet, so I don't want to add a whole bunch of cameras and then have to change the device interface. But the device interface is different from anything anybody else is doing. It really is impossible for the device to crash the software. If the software crashes, I cannot point my finger at, oh, their SDK, my app. It actually, the camera runs in its own process, so the main app can't crash. And there are ways to move data really fast that people who are using C# and JavaScript don't know about. So anyway, yeah, I'll make some noise. I think it may be in public beta by the end of the year on all
Nice.
platforms.
There you
It
go.
it runs really well on Windows. Just when it comes, I don't have a lot of time, so I can't afford to have 800 beta testers right now with different Windows configurations. So I'm kind of scaling it up slowly.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yep.
That's awesome. But all those pictures that you've taken just over the past month. I mean, was that Dolphin Head also? Did you take that? And
Yeah, that was
Star
Winter Star Party
too?
too. That's another great southern object. So the skies are so good, you can shoot really low in the south. So there's a lot of low southern targets that the Winter Star Party is just perfect for shooting. Uh, so that Dolphin Head. Those were O3 images.
Yeah.
3 nanometer chromas. Oh
Nice.
gosh, man! I tell you what, the narrow you go on those narrowband filters, the contrast goes up quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I started off with 3 nanometer, and then I got 5 and 8 7s because they were cheaper, and I'm like, yeah, that's good enough. And I splurged with my Christmas bonus on some 3 nanometer chromas, and it's like,
Nice.
oh, yeah, this is what I've been missing. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it-
I can't afford chromas myself, but I mean, I went from 12 nanometers to 7s to 3s, and now I'm done. I got the 3s from Optolong, and
Mhm.
let me tell you, there's such a huge, especially when you're
Oh
dealing
yeah.
with, not, I mean, forget it being from New York and all that kind of stuff. What what it does for high border skies is just amazing. You know, when you get
Oh yeah.
down, you know, when you get to the sevens, you're like, okay, you know, this is pretty cool. Then when you get down to the threes, you're like, wow, am I like Bortle 2? This is great. You know, I mean, it
And
makes such a difference on the
yeah,
contrast and the detail. It's really amazing. If you could
and
get
12 is
these,
awesome, you know. 12 is awesome when all you've had before is a red filter
yeah,
or one shot color.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
You
have
know,
no idea. You shoot mono with the 12 nanometer, you're like, this is so great.
oh yeah,
And
it's
you're not
awesome.
wrong.
Nope.
You're not wrong. It is great.
You're
Um,
not wrong. You just don't know any
but
better. You
boy,
know,
it's a slippery slope, right? You
it
start with a
is.
small
You
fishing
know,
boat, and then it just goes up, 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 up.
we talk about this all the time on the show on how deep this rabbit hole can go, and Pete's famous saying of buy once, cry once. Depending on your budget. But there's so many times where we take those baby steps. We sit there and um, we get a 60 millimeters Viboni refractor with a uncooled camera and maybe an L Pro filter. We splurged a little bit, $200 on a filter, and and then you say, well, you know what, I'm sticking with it. Let me get something else. So you go up to an 80, then you go up to 100, then you go up to a 120, then a Schmidt, then this, and then you get all this stuff. And then you got the closet of death over here and, filled with a bunch of stuff that you haven't touched in 3 years. But it's just constantly goes, and it's a natural progression of the lifestyle of being an astrophotographer. Most people aren't gonna, unless if you're Scott, aren't going to buy a 14-inch Schmidt Cassegrain on a rainbow mount with a monster Moag and chroma filters. I
Yeah,
mean, it's,
yeah.
it's it's not going to happen. That's not normal,
It's
you know.
it's a progression. My favorite story is, and it doesn't matter even when you're not imaging, is my my first real telescope my wife bought me when we were dating. We were engaged, and it was a 60 millimeter red telescope that we all started with, in the 80s.
Astroscan.
No, 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 the T word.
Oh,
And
geez.
when we moved to Florida, it was well over 30 years ago. We moved to Florida, and I go into a used camera store, and they've got this Edmund Scientific 4.5-inch reflector with no eyepieces.
Nice.
And I had to wrap electrical tape around my .96 eyepieces to make them fit. And finally, the day came. We drove to Colonial Photo and Hobby in Orlando, and I bought my first eyepiece. And I came out, this little box, Celestron, and my wife's like, all right, how much was it? I'm like, $99.95. And she didn't say a word. And we get to the first stoplight, and she just goes, she's not mad. She's like I said, Bigfoot stole my breakfast. She goes, $100 for an eyepiece. And then she's quiet. We get to another red light, and she goes, $100 for an eyepiece. And it's like, if I could go back in time, say, you have no idea where this is going. My first winter star party, it's the only time I ever won a door prize. I won the Nagler 31 millimeter
Wow.
eyepiece, and I had a Meade LX200. I paid $100 for the whole Meade Plossel collection. Right. It's like
Yep.
we won't whatever you think of them, $100 for a whole case of eyepieces. Right. Meade, and I'm like, this is a $600 eyepiece.
This is a no
Like
judgment
my
zone,
wife
so it's okay.
I should sell this because there's no way a $600 eyepiece. I mean, there's no way. I thought, well, I should at least try it. And I put it in my LX200 and I looked in it. And it was like those allergy commercials where you don't realize it and then they peel away the film and you're like, oh, and
my God.
that whole tray of meat eyepieces turned into garbage immediately.
I'm getting no
And
teleview.
Well, Rich,
I saved my money every year. The next year I spent $300 on a smaller teleview. The next year I spent $200 and something. But every year I bought it was a good investment for teleview, right? Because every year I bought a new teleview eyepiece until I had a whole collection of Teleview eyepieces. But
Now he's got
you
a
know, you
whole
have
slew
to
of 7
learn.
Ethos eyepieces going.
Yeah, yeah. But you have to learn to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Because initially, you know, if I'm doing outreach in the Starbucks parking lot, normal people, they can't tell the difference between a $600 eyepiece and a $6 eyepiece. It's just, that's the moon. I can see craters. That's amazing. But you, like anything, it's, you start to develop, you know, it's like learning to eat sushi, you know, any sushi, and then suddenly, well, oh, the better sushi. Oh, this is, and then you can't eat that garbage stuff anymore, you know, that you started with. It's just, it's a growth. And of course, it costs money, more and more money.
But-
The more you,
But you know, Rich, you have a mistress that you never take out anymore. And she's just
oh no,
told
you're going to
everybody
talk about her, are you?
she's the trophy wife that just stays in the closet. Like Dan's got a closet of death. This is going to be the equivalent of what you got with your mistress.
No. Yeah, I was at dinner the other day. Peter was talking to me early day about this. About one of my friends, like, how many telescopes do you have?
Yep.
I'm like, about a dozen. And he's like, all right, I'm ready. How many do you actually use? Like,
All of
actually,
them.
all of them. I do. I cycle through them for different things, except one. There's one I haven't taken out in a while, and she was my first. She was my first time. It's it's the Officina Stellare Riccardi Hondas RH200.
Wow.
And I tell you, when I bought that telescope, it was like being 16 and having a Ferrari. If you know, pardon the analogy, but I mean, it was like, it's like a chick magnet, only it wasn't chicks, it was other nerds. You know, if I show up at a star party with that telescope, everybody was like, "Oh, we have to go see that. It's f3, 8 inches f3." It was, and it was the most money I've ever spent on anything up to that time, you know, on myself, you know, to buy that. It was like, you know, I've got Paramount, and I've managed to get some nice cameras, and I've got this, I won't even say who it was. I got this crappy $300 telescope, and I said, you know, if I'm going to be a serious imager, I need to have some skin in the game, and I need to buy something myself that's really good quality. And so that was, her name was Victoria, and my wife calls her that blankety blank Vicky, because I would spend the night with her in the backyard instead of coming to bed at a decent hour. And yeah, Peter was asking. I've become a bit of a refractor snob in my old age. I really like refractors, but I can't bring myself to get rid of the Veloce. So I still have it, and I think I need to order a part from Precise Parts, and I can actually put most of my cameras on it.
Well,
I need to get her out again. I need
if-
to get her out again.
if you perhaps need some Precise Parts stuff, I mean, you're more than welcome to come through my bucket of Precise Parts adapters, and I may
Oh.
just have what you need.
I have bought Ashley a lot of nice meals.
we all have.
Over the years, I have bought him a lot of nice meals. I'm quite sure.
Yeah, I'm sure Dan can say the same thing.
Hold on a second.
Now,
Oh my gosh, yeah. I had my last main camera was the 16200 CCD. It was an FLI.
Nice.
Great camera,
Yeah.
great sensor. It still is a great sensor. Holds its own as long as you don't mind exposing a little longer.
Yep.
But I had the adapters so that camera would go on everything. I could put it on the Veloce. I could put it on the back of any of my refractors. And then the CMOS thing happened, and I've got the Player One. The Player One will go on almost all my scopes now. It will go on all of my scopes except for the Veloce. I need one more adapter to put it on the Veloce, and then I'm gonna get her out and take a picture and send it to Peter just to get him off my back.
Nice.
You know what we'll do, Rich? When
I
we get
took
together,
Victoria. I took
when we
Victoria
get
out.
together,
Yeah, we did some narrow band all night. Made my wife jealous.
Nice.
when we get together, we'll bring them both out. I'll bring mine out. We'll put them side by side.
Nice.
That's what we'll do.
Nice. That'd
so
be great.
Mitch, I got a couple
More
questions
questions.
for you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. one question I have is when you're at the Winter Star Party and you're not guiding, you're doing these very short exposures and everything. How many targets did you maybe perhaps do over the course of a night? Were you able to go around and do multiple targets because you're doing such short exposures? Say at a Carina, that one was maybe what, less than an hour,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
got such a great
So
result there.
yeah, so here's the thing that um, we're to the point where the the noise sources that matter are all falling away to the point to where shot noise limited. Shot noise is basically the noise from the pitter patter of photons arriving from a faint object. So when you take a a common misunderstanding with like a DSLR or SLR, you crank up the ISO and it's a noisy image, and they're like, well, it's noisy because of electronic noise from the ISO. No, when you crank up the ISO, it shortens the exposure, and it's noisy because there's less light. So less light, the noise because of a faint target um, is called shot noise. And we can't make Eta Carina any brighter than it is. Eta Carina is a bright object. That's why I got away with that. And Omega Centauri is a bright object. That's why I got away with that. But if you need to go deep on an object for 4 hours, you still need to go deep on an object for 4 hours, whether you're taking 1 minute exposures or 4 1 hour exposures. You still need that. Now, the difference in quantum efficiency um, with the new things, that's only like, we're only talking like 10%. So, okay, well, maybe you can do it in 3.5 hours, but it's not going to enable you to go 45 minutes on a target and go as deep as you could with 6 hours
Yeah.
on the target.
Mhm.
So,
So it's still the
and that's
same
one of the
amount
things.
of shorter exposures.
Yeah,
Right.
you still need to go a good long ways. Now, the algorithms are getting better too on how you get the noise out of the images. And so, a properly calibrated image with a little bit of noise is easy to clean up. And it's also easy to make it look really good on a computer monitor that's being broadcast over the internet, very small. But if you pixel peep some of those images, you're like, oh yeah, he needs to go a little longer. The Centaurus A galaxy needed a little more time. Omega Centauri, bright object. I did like half an hour on that. That's all you need. That's all you freaking need on Omega Centauri. You do not need to go for 3 hours on that target. But that's a factor of the target. It's a bright object. I really don't like online calculators because they don't take into account the target you're shooting or the sky conditions, or the baseball game that's going on, shining lights up in the sky. I think I've made this analogy on here before. It's like, you can learn to cook by putting microwave dinners in the microwave, but at a certain point, you're going to have to, learn to mix the ingredients yourself and taste it and add more of this and less of that, and that's what anything you do, whether it's astrophotography or any other hobby or skill, is the same way. Um,
Yeah.
and you get to a point where it always annoys me, my friends. I hope don't be offended, but it annoys me sometimes. My friends are like, "Once you get going, can you come and help me?" Like, once I get going, what do you mean? Once I get going, like I'm just gonna press a button and then I'm gonna leave it all night. I take images and I look at the data as it comes in. Am I do I need to like shorten the exposure by a minute? Do I need to increase the exposure? Do I need to do this? And once I get going, okay, I'm going, and then I monitor it and I see how things are going. And that's when it gets fun. I like to watch the data come. Everybody doesn't like to do that. I want automation. I want to press a button and go to bed. Well, why don't you just download the image? Sorry.
No, no, there's still more to it. There's plenty of processing that needs to get done
There,
and all that.
yeah, yeah,
You know.
there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who love to eat venison, and there are people who love to hunt, and there's some people like to hunt but don't eat it. Some people who like to hunt and eat it. It's the same
Yep.
way. I like to set up the gear. When I first got started, I liked doing the image processing better because I'm better at software, and I hated setting up the gear. All the wires and the cables and everything's got to be right, and I didn't like it at all. But at a certain point, the balance shifted, and I got good enough at setting up a mount and getting polar aligned to where I started enjoying that, and that became a challenge. How fast can I get set up? How can I tweak this to get more out of it? How can I change things? Um, anyway, yeah, I like to get the data as well as to process it. How did we get off on this target? I don't know. You still need to go deep. You still need to go deep to get good quality data. Yeah, you still need to go deep. You can get away with short.
It's all about the surface brightness.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all about how bright the target is. And one thing you got to be careful for with the SkyX Professional, I can get good results with 10 seconds, but sometimes a whole bunch of and I've got computer power, right? And I got space. I can do 10,000 10-second exposures. But the problem is it takes 10 seconds to download the image and display it because of gobbledygook. Because it was written when people were using CCDs and nobody was doing 10-second exposures. So that's called duty cycle. So what's the duty cycle of the software you're using? So I mean, if you're going to do, first time I ran into this, I was doing a side by side down here about a year ago, maybe it's 2 years ago, and I had a CCD and a CMOS. I was shooting the same target, and I was doing short exposures. So I was doing the experiment. Can I do like 30 seconds with a CCD and 30 seconds with the CMOS and shoot for 4 hours? Well, after 4 hours, I had 3.5 hours worth of CMOS data, and I had, an hour and 90 minutes, like maybe 2 hours of
CCD.
CCD data, because
Download speed.
not just the software was taking too long to display the image, but the camera took too long to download the image as well. And so I lost half my image time downloading the images.
Yeah, and
That's got to change.
Yeah, that's one of the
that's
things that I kind of, I was the last one of the group to go fully CMOS, and I was hanging on. I had my STF 8300, and then I had the QHY 16200. So I had all these that they're really great. That the sensors are well proven, and they've been around for a long, long time. And so finally I said, and the thing that killed me was when I got the 16, I only had the 6200, what, Eric, like a year and a half. And one of the main things with that, even though the images I got out of it were great, it took, I think it was 17 seconds to download a 1 minute photo. And I'm like, 17 seconds every shot. And if you're all night, you are missing out. And I said, you know what? My skies stink so bad as it is. I can't afford to be doing, spending half my night downloading. And forget about doing like a 3-point polar alignment or doing the sharp cap polar alignment. Forget it. It's like, by the time you get the results of the polar alignment arc, it's already moved. You're 17 seconds behind or 19 seconds behind. It's just horrible. So even though that they're great cameras, and if you have pristine skies, go for it. But if you're in a situation like I am with a Bortle 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever sky I'm at now, it's so important. Your time is so crucial, because it's so bad in the light polluted skies of New York, Los Angeles, or if you're in the UAE, I mean, it gets really, really bad.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So what, any other questions out there? No, you know what? In all fairness, I do like. I mean, I used to do live streams all the time with my imaging, and when I was doing the Heart Nebula back about 3 years ago, I was doing live streams and getting a lot of people to come in and do it. But I like seeing the images come in. But once I feel comfortable that the night's going well, within a couple hours,
it's time to go to take a nap or go to bed.
Go to bed.
Yeah.
Watch the Islander game. Do whatever you got. Have a drink with your wife, your significant other, whatever, and just hang out and then go to bed. And then after a couple times, and again, we talk about the natural progression of the lifestyle of doing this. If you sit there and first time you start the meridian flip, you're outside, you're like, oh my god, I don't want it to smash into
The
anything.
cable's there.
Yeah, something's gonna
yeah.
go on. And then at the end of the night, oh my god, is my scope gonna park if I go to bed? So you get up
Yeah.
at like the butt crack of dawn, and like just to make sure it goes. But once you get it past that initial anxiety, it's like, all right, it's gonna work. It's not a problem. I'm gonna go start my telescope. I'm gonna go to a nice, dinner with my significant other at somewhere while this is imaging. Or I'm gonna, like, what I do is I teach astrophotography in somebody else's house, and I'm imaging at my house, and I'm showing them pictures that I'm taking halfway across the island at the same time I'm teaching them. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I guess part of the reason I do it the way I do it is I'm probably doing a product review, or I'm working on the software, or I'm doing some experiment where I'm trying something different, like like the short exposures. Okay, I need to take a 5-minute exposure, and then I need to take 5 1-minute exposures, and then I need to take a bunch of, and then I'll stack them all and I'll compare them, and I'm doing that while I'm imaging a lot of times. So I have a remote setup that I have a peer that I share with some friends out in California at a really good site, Subarc Second Seeing, very often, and I don't use it that often, which is a shame because we have a really great camera and it's a really great scope and it's on a Paramount, and I guess when I put out a pretty picture, it's not often that I sat down like I want a pretty picture of this object and I'm just going to shoot this object. I'm usually just playing around with things, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing that. And then I'll make a picture along the way. That's great.
All right. Let's see. So everyone's talking about what they do when they're imaging, pretty much in the chat.
Here's what I like to do.
Yep.
Yeah. One thing that I speaking of things I like to do, yesterday I was working on M106 with my 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain, and I discovered that the imaging circle for the Celestron 0.7 reducer for the 8-inch, coupled with an ASPC sensor like the 2600, causes some pretty significant vignetting, even though the imaging circle, it's not supposed. They say it's the imaging circle with the reducer. It gets it down. It's around 26 millimeter, around that, whereas because the sensor is around 27 millimeter diagonal. But if you do it at f10, if you're imaging at f10, you can use the full imaging circle. The imaging circle is around 35 millimeter. One thing. So that was one thing of those things. I'm like, really? No wonder, because here I am. I'm fumbling around trying to figure out what's going on. Why am I getting this vignetting? I'm thinking it's this. I'm thinking it's that, and it turns out I get on a couple websites and I discover, son of a gun, it's the freaking reducer.
Yep.
The one thing I want to use to help speed things up a little bit, and this is the cause of my issue.
Reducers. They just take. Here's how much light you get from the scope, and the reducer just squishes it down. But those dark edges. The dark edges are there anyway, but they're just brought in, along with everything else. So.
Or you could just use the 533 on it and have a day. I mean.
Well, if you use the 533, then I'm just fine. It was just
unfortunately you miss out on the rest. You miss out on the oil, but I mean you won't have the vignetting. But
So what I ended up doing is, fortunately, before I got the 0.7 reducer, because it was on back order because of COVID and everything for so long, I was able to but I bought from Cloudy Nights the Lepus, the Optech Lepus,
Yeah.
the Lepus, and fortunately, its imaging circle doesn't cause that vignetting. So I decided, okay, fine, screw it. I'll put the 0.7 in the box and just go down to 0.62. And so now I have to wait to see, how things are come Sunday, because that's our next, here in Illinois, at least in Northern Illinois, that's our next clear opportunity. So yeah, I was fumbling around all last night, and up, like the upper 20s, low 30 degrees, fumbling around, first trying to get things collimated, because I haven't used the Edge, all year, and now it's Galaxy season. And then, tinkering around with that, then tinkering around with this whole vignetting mess. So it's just another one of those lessons learned, of the things you didn't realize before because of the type of equipment you have. And it was just another reason why I said I should have stuck with my guts and got the 9.25.
Crop, Eric. Crop.
Forget. But no, cropping.
I'm just
Forget
kidding.
cropping.
I'm kidding.
Especially, like if I'm at M106 and then there's like 5 other galaxies.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
That field is
And that field, I want to try to get. And I don't want to just get M106. I want to get a few of the other ones off there as well.
Football galaxy nearby. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. You're like, yeah, of course, yeah, I could crop the whole thing out, or it'll correct out, with the flats, or everything like that. But it's like I'm just like, I was just like that. And yesterday, I want to get out here. I want to do it. I haven't been imaging, for a while, and then all this crap goes. So it was just one of those things.
I'm still
But
playing
you learn.
I'm still playing with this guy too, I'm still playing with that. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm
There's that little football galaxy I like down at the lower left. I love that little.
this guy, there's another one up here. There's another one over here.
I mean, you've got
Fantastic field.
Yeah, I think you've got like about a half dozen galaxies in the view there.
Yeah, so I
can
see one,
that's what you want to take a shot at,
4, 5. I could see 6, including 106. But
Okay.
But I mean, that I took up in Cherry Springs with that's with a red cat. I mean, that's So I mean, I got to do some work on it. I just wish I had time to process it better. I know I could get more data out of it, because I got some good data, but I just really wanted to put everything together real quick. But I'm telling you, with the 8-inch Schmidt that you got, and with that, you're gonna get some really great detail into those lanes at 106. It's gonna be pretty good.
It's gonna be pretty cool once I get it all set up.
Is that an Edge HD?
It is.
Or yeah. That's actually better than a Schmidt.
Yeah.
That's a nice flat field across the whole thing.
Yeah.
We talk about how far cameras have come. Look how far optics have come in 20 years. It's phenomenal. Like, the Red Cat, like it's basically a camera lens. It's a 200 millimeter telescope.
250. Yeah, it's 250.
It's better than most camera lenses. At that. It's phenomenal how far the optics have come as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm like, you and I spoke offline yesterday about how many telescopes we got, and I'm like a lot of the other astrophotographers out there. I don't like, once my rig is put together, I don't care which one it is, whether it's, I'm looking at 2 right now. I got the Red Cat, I got the ASCAR 400. Outside, I got my AP130. And all of them have their cameras attached to them. I just don't like taking things apart. I have one telescope that I have that it's my swap out telescope. So I got this telescope that I can kind of just move things. I don't care. I'll take new flats with it, whatever. But my main imaging stuff, once they're together, it's like Pandora's box. It stays closed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. So yeah, that's something that's nice. But one good thing, at least for my setup, is that at least I've got the imaging train with the OAG, everything set up so that I can simply disconnect it, the entire imaging train from the reducer of the from the edge and put it right into the refractor, the FLT91.
Yeah.
Screw it right in.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I don't have to change anything. Just unscrew it from one scope, put it right into another, and just move on.
Yep.
So
That's what
one
I like
thing.
to do too. I swap cameras and optics around constantly.
Yeah. And if I can keep the imaging train for the most part together and just move from one optic to another, and but I still maintain that back focus, then it's like gravy.
Yeah, that's
I'm all
an
good.
easy way to do it. Absolutely, as long as you got the lovely precise parts adapters that you're going to need to do that. So I think everybody, the 37 people still watching, plus the four on the screen. I think probably between the 40 people, we probably spent a good, I don't know, $5,000 to $10,000 in precise parts alone, right in the 40 people that we got. So
I've got at least four of them just in here right now.
Yep.
At least 4 or
Yep.
5.
I'm telling you,
It's baggy.
and that Neve, you know what? We're gonna do a phantom giveaway. So somebody's gonna get a ticket, and all they're gonna do is they're gonna put the hand in my bucket of precise parts, and they just take one. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't know the size. I don't know nothing. You just take it.
It needs to be labeled.
Right.
Nope.
That
nope.
M48 or
No,
52 or
nope. No, it's not going to be labeled. You got to label it. You got to figure it
or
out yourself.
weird like Takahashi.
No, there's no Takahashi. I can guarantee you there's no Takahashi adapters in there. But yeah, Neve, you're going to Neve, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Giving a talk at NEAC.
Oh, good.
On some of the
Okay.
things we talked about here, the future of astrophotography.
Nice. Well, AstroWorld is going to have their own table at Neve as well.
Oh, I'll come by and visit.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be doing a group photo, and I'm gonna try and see if I can talk to either Bob or Ed to see if we can get the stands, the bleachers, just to take a picture,
Oh, yeah.
just for 5
Yeah.
minutes. It's gonna be a time thing. It's gonna be a scheduled thing that we can kind of go up there, take the picture, and then just leave. Just anybody from AstroWorld and anybody who's been on it or who's a fan of it they're all welcome. So
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to do it at hopefully 2:00 or 3:00 on Saturday, somewhere in between the speakers. And we'll do that. But that's going to be a lot of fun. It's great time to be an AstroWorld fan. It really is.
Absolutely.
And
Brian May is going
is
to
not
jam.
coming. He's
Whoa. What did I no, my daughter just told me something today. He is now Sir Brian
He is,
May.
sir. He has been knighted. Yes,
He is knighted.
And I'm still working. I'm still doing the I call it the Shawshank Redemption treatment that I've been giving Brian May's publicist. That I've been attempting to get him on the show, even on a recorded part, just to say, hey, how you doing, everybody? See you later. But every time I get back from, I think his publicist's name is Jenny or something like that. Some woman keeps on answering me saying, "Oh, well, he's on tour or it's a big time," and da.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm next step. I know Dave Eicher from Astronomy Magazine. I'll be like, Dave, help me out, man. Set me up with his Instagram, something, because they're good friends too. So it's kind of I'm still trying, everybody. I will try until I can't do it no more. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'll get something eventually somewhere. That'd be a lot of fun. But yeah.
Well, hey, do we want to spin the wheel? I mean, we've got a few minutes left before.
Well, I do have some good news, that I want to let the membership know before we go away, because everybody knows that watches the show. I think everybody knows that watches the show that I left Camera Concepts about 2 weeks ago. I'm no longer working over there, and we opened up AstroWorld as a dealer of some sorts in telescope stuff. We picked up another dealership last night while I was sleeping. And Pete, I don't know if I told you this. I know I told Eric on text.
And I'm so excited.
We picked up William Optics, William Yang. Sent me an email, said, Dan, no problem. Here's the price list. And so now we are now a dealer in William Optics as well. So William Optics, Rainbow Astro, Optolong, Explore Scientific, Prima Luce, you can get it all here. So,
Player One only has one U.S. dealer. I had to buy my stuff direct from China.
well, then, there you go.
Just saying.
If you have an email contact, feel free to send me the.
Oh, don't forget we have Pegasus too, didn't you?
Oh,
You didn't
Pegasus
mention Pegasus.
too. We got Pegasus too.
Cool.
Yeah, so we got Pegasus.
Those are cool people too.
Yep, I know Evan and Angelos, and I I met them at NEAF in 19, and the last one that we had. but it's going to be cool. So you can definitely if anybody wants to buy anything, feel free to support this channel.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. William Optics, Prima Luce, Pegasus. I know you said Rainbow. We have Rainbow. We have Optolong. It just keeps growing and growing, and it's a really cool thing. It's a really.
These are all quality
brands. I keep telling you. Very much so. They're very much so. So really happy and excited.
More, I'm doing it in dribs and drabs because and just so everybody knows on the channel, listen, give me time to build inventory. I literally just opened this a week ago, so no, you're not going to get an FLT91 tomorrow. So give me some time.
I'm not giving you mine.
Yeah. Eric will sell me his so I could sell it to you at retail. How about that? Until we make a buck or two, then we'll talk about discounts eventually. But
maybe.
Damn, what are you doing? But anyway. But we do. But anyway, yes, I've had 2 customers already. One purchased a pretty large Prima Luce, and I sold a Rainbow Astro RST 300 today. So with all the trimmings and everything. So
nice.
Congrats.
Hey, well, so. We'll talk about the loyalty discounts eventually, Norman. But it's got to be in the continental U.S. You know
what? We're gonna start sending out. We'll start sending out little coupon cards. Things we'll just punch, like little punch cards. And if you buy like 10 products, then we'll give you a discount on the 11th.
Oh, and the web.
Oh, you get a free precise parts.
There you
go. Something right under the
like a Cracker Jack kind of thing. You just you never know what you're gonna get.
Exactly.
Pull one out. That's what you get, and it's not going to be any identification on it. Go get your calipers and figure it out. But but
absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot more information, I'm sure, coming up towards NEAF. The website will be up, finished by the end of the month, I'm hoping. But right now we're just open to AstroWorld people and people that are hearing me now. It's just word of mouth. And if you want, you know how to get in contact with me, whether in Discord or phone or here, just say email, anything. But the website will be open probably by the end of the month in case anybody's wondering. But other than that, that's it. So we do have a Woodland Hills giveaway that we have to do as well. And I just want to say about Picture of the Month. So Picture of the Month voting ends Friday for January. So go vote for Picture of the Month. Vote for Picture of the Week. We're going to be giving away a Picture of the Week, and not giving away, but we're going to be announcing the Picture of the Week and the Picture of the Month this Friday. Okay, so Picture of the Month for January and the Picture of the Week. We already have 111 votes for Picture of the Week, and it just got, for Picture of the Month, and it just got, it just hit over 100 yesterday. So Is AstroWorld Telescope's going to be a sponsor of AstroWorld TV? Yes, event. Yes, of course. so,
Absolutely.
You think?
there will be gift certificates given away by AstroWorld TV for AstroWorld. Yes. So there will, once we get the website up and running, that will happen. Absolutely. But there would definitely be some other benefits for being a member or Patreon member as well. So anyway, let's give away the $50 gift certificate. And let me see if I can get this up here. There we go. And you know what? And well, let's see if we could do this. Where is
How many is that? Did it say 114 or 134?
34, 134.
134.
Let's see if I can do this. And we'll move.
And don't forget, if you want to have a chance at winning any of these, if you're new to the show, don't forget, do us a big favor, give us a thumbs up, give us a like if you're on Facebook, anything like that. And don't forget to go to astroworldweb.com and sign up for these giveaways. And you can, and I believe someone even asked, is this is this like a permanent thing as far as if you sign up, do you have to sign up, like once every year, or you just always signed up, anything like that? If you signed up once, or you always signed up?
It's a permanent thing. However, I've had some things, and I'll even do it one better, but I've had some people that have signed up that don't respond to the email. Maybe they've just dropped off the face of the earth, don't do Astro anymore, whatever. That's fine. It goes back into the kitty and it gets spun at a next date sometimes. So I keep track of that. So if it doesn't, it's not like if somebody doesn't answer, then it gets put back in for the next winner. So don't be afraid of that. And for those of you that have been asking me about the Optolong giveaways that are going to be happening again this year, if you signed up for the first round, you don't have to sign up again. I already have all your email addresses saved. It will start off at whatever, 120, 130 people we had at the Optolong giveaway. It'll start off there. That is all held internally by us. So again, same thing. If we don't give it away, it doesn't go into the closet of death. It goes into the next person. So if we have an L Pro, somebody wins, they don't answer after 2 or 3 times, then it goes back and we respin. So that's how that works. So, but for tonight, Farah and Woodland Hills has given us some cash to give away. So let's give away $50. How about that?
All right.
All right. So here we go. I see Amy Little's name running around here too. I see that, but here we go. The Sean Nielsen Wheel of Fortune.
Need the music to go with it.
Ernest.
Ernie Jacobs, man, he's on a roll. He won.
Yeah.
He won a Masters of Pix Insight class last week.
Hey.
There you go.
So this just goes to show you got to play to win. You can do this even with 134 some participants on this wheel. You can still be one of them. You can still win it.
All right, Ernie. I'll send you an email. Ernie is actually was a presenter on Astropalooza. And speaking of which, Astropalooza is already going to happen for 2023. So I'm thinking the date's going to be December 9th. And just so everybody knows, the first person has already been booked for Astropalooza. I had to get way ahead of this. So the first person for Astropalooza that's a booked speaker for the show is Dylan O'Donnell. I was able to, me and Dylan have developed a little bit of a kind of I don't know, not a relationship, but we talk over Twitter, and back and forth, we kind of mess with each other a little bit. And finally I said, listen, Dylan, it's 9 months away. Can you do it? It's going to be December 9th. He's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. I saw.
You know what? If you start talking that you're going to start, shipping him like, beer or something, importing a beer, He'll do anything.
Hey, you know what? I'm definitely trying to get some other people involved. I don't know if you know this, Rich. I don't know if you know what Astropalooza is. But we did a 10-hour show on December 12th of last year with I believe it was 15 presenters, including Dr. Sass, Charles Bracken, Molly Wakeling, Sean Nielsen, all of the masters of PixInsight, Nico Carver, Amy Little. I mean, we had so many people on. Who was it? Wayne Parker from Sky Shed was
Wayne.
on
Yeah.
with Sean. And then Ernest Jacobs also did, and we had two people from Ashford, Ernest Jacobs and Josh Kovac, also did speakerships as well. And then it was an awesome day. It was long, and I felt like jumping off. I literally at the end,
Adam
at the
Block
end of
was
the
on.
show
There were
did a
several.
shot of whiskey at the end of the show on screen. I'm surprised we didn't get yelled at by YouTube, but literally I said, guys, here we go, done. Because I was on from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night, just getting everything done and rolling and stuff like that. Eric jumped on for most of the day. He jumped in at about 11 or so.
Well, I was watching the Army Navy game.
Yeah.
See,
Pete started off the show, but he had to go play hockey. So but it was a really great time. Yeah, it was a really great time. So it's backed by popular demand. So it's gonna happen. Well, probably some repeaters as far as the speakers is concerned. I know that Amy Little wanted to come back and talk about her observatory building experience because it'll be done by then. And it's gonna be a lot of fun again. I'm looking forward to doing it again. So.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Appreciate that.
What he said. What he said.
He says, "Go Army."
Oh. You know what? I thought Mark was a holdout. We did a poll. We did a poll on said, if anybody would want Astropalooza to come back in 2023. And there was one person that said no.
No.
There was one person. And we all thought it was you, Mark, just so you know.
Yeah, we were like, why? What's he got to get back for Palooza? But no, I'm so excited for Dylan to hop on. I've watched his videos. He's a great YouTube content provider. I've learned a lot from him, so I think it's going to be great. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, don't take it personally, Marco. I was making a joke.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So it's 11:02. It's 11:02.
Hey, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's that time of evening, where it's time to do the Shana Na song, and let's just really quick do some final thoughts of anybody, and anybody wants Eric final thoughts.
Yeah, Richard, thank you for taking the time out and sharing those photos of the Winter Star Party. Those are some fantastic shots. Really, really appreciate that, and it was a great talk. Love having you on here, and I'm looking forward to having you back on. Looking forward to meeting you in person in Neath. So really, really good. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Great.
But again, thank you everybody for your participation and some awesome questions and having fun with us. So it's I just love coming on every Wednesday and Friday. So looking forward to catching up with everybody at the end of the week. So another great show.
Awesome.
Cool.
Rich, any final thoughts on anything?
It's clear here. I'm getting ready to image.
I'm not doing anything with 20-mile-an-hour winds, so I'm not doing much of anything.
Oh my.
It's clear. It's wonderful outside. It's clear as a bell. But I almost got blown over walking out of my car. So
Yeah, that does present a challenge.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably I could image up to about 15 if and that's really pushing it at 15 because I'm on up here as well at EQ8R, and I don't overload it too much, but I mean I can probably do it, but 11 o'clock and I got to work tomorrow. I just don't think I'm gonna even try.
Yeah.
Well, I had fun hanging out with you guys. Is always fun, and I look forward to seeing everybody at NEAF. So, are you coming up for NEAC or just NEAF?
Oh, I'll be. Me and Pete will be there for NEAC and NEAF.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just be there for me.
So yeah, so we got to be there and set up the table.
Yeah.
All that
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've done my shift of setting up and tearing down.
And of course
They've done chorus at the end.
oh yeah. Of course, I got the TV on the stand, and I got like a whole bunch of, I got like candy. So if you want candy, come get candy. We got 400 kisses with the AstroWorld logo on it. So, they're definitely got to come by. All right, Pete, last final thoughts.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dan, you'll buy the first round after the show on Saturday, right?
Well, actually, I'll buy the first round with you after the show on Thursday, and then I'll buy everybody else around on Sunday. so
That'd be good. No, thanks, Richard, for coming back on the show. It's always a pleasure having you on. As I said, the membership is really very responsive and saying that it was just a great presentation you did. So sincerely, thank you very much. And Eric, look forward to seeing you here at NEAF, and should be a lot of fun. It's kind of nice that it's going to be on this year. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting to see. And I talked to Greg Bragg today. He's going to be there. So Celestron's going to be there. So that's a good sign that maybe it'll just kind of be the big show that it always was. So this is going to be exciting.
Yeah,
that's good.
I'm super stoked for this. I've just like everybody else who wanted NEAF to happen last year, and then it didn't at the last second. And it was just such a depressing thing. And we've even spoken on the show about NEAF and saying, wow, is it ever coming back? And I'm hoping that this, from what I'm seeing, we don't even know. I don't even know if you know, Pete, about how many vendors are going to be there, because there's no list has gone out. I know who's coming from people that I know. People who's come from people but there's been no list or map of the vendor table yet. So looking forward to see who's actually gonna show up. And but I'm thinking
most of my vendor friends are coming.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are going to be there.
I think there's going to be a lot of people there.
It's going to be a bang. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome. And I think what the funny thing is, I think they're going to have some of the largest attendance numbers that they've had in the past 10, 15 years, because
10 up.
What? Yeah, that's what it is. And same thing like the star parties this year. Oh my God, you couldn't get spaces to stand in Cherry Springs because it was so packed, because people were just all pent up energy. So bring your wallet. But hey, listen, everybody, listen, Rich, thank you so much for coming on tonight again. You're always
you're welcome. I had fun too.
You're always welcome to come back whenever you want. When you're ready to make a little announcement, you're more than welcome to come on and say, hey, this is what's going on.
I'll come on and talk about my button.
Right? Come on and talk about your button.
About my button.
Your button.
There's a new button. Let me make this button.
There you go. I'm telling you, and listen, you have a standing invitation to come on whenever you want. So all right,
thank you.
Always welcome. But everybody, have a good night. Thank you for joining us and Richard Wright and the rest of the team. Eric, Pete, thank you so much. Everybody in the Peanut Gallery out there for your comments, thank you so much as well. Don't forget Wednesday night upcoming. We got Friday night. It is you want to do a critique night? You want to do a critique? We haven't done a critique night in a while.
I thought
Friday night.
Oh yeah, that's right. Last Friday.
For the last Friday of the month.
Last Friday. So we got to figure out something for this Friday. But anyway, maybe we'll get
We will.
Dylan finally to do his presentation. He's been saying for the past like month and a half until he got his face smashed in. But all right, everybody. Well, have a good night, everybody. Take care. We'll see you on Friday night. Watch the Discord and watch Facebook on any updates for the show on Friday. So everyone have a good night. Remember, as always, keep imaging, keep educating, clear skies. And we'll see you
Going
Friday
imaging
night.
right now.
Have fun.
All right, guys.
Yeah.